Welcome to So Many Receipts. I'm Flo Michelle.
And I'm Shelley Seddon.
And we are two entertainment journos based in Sydney, Australia, who love to analyse and talk about all things reality, TV and pop culture.
Each week on Receipt Roundup, we bring you our take on what's trending.
This week on the show, the epic Valley reunion finally ends. The Real Housewives of Miami, Larsa Pippen's face breaks the internet. A P. Diddy connection on plastic surgery rewind. And did a deckhand shag a charter guest after all on Below Deck?
So we're kicking off with The Valley, parts 2 and 3. This feels like the most grueling 3-part reunion in history, but it's finally over.
Yes, and you know, I just remember when we first started talking about The Valley months and months ago.
Yeah.
It feels like so long ago now. We couldn't even keep track of all the cast members. I remember saying I wish they just all had name tags. And now I feel like we just know them so well, like way too well.
I know. It's like maths. Like you know them like family by the end of it. But I want to even know why this was in 3 parts. We are just going over the same ground we covered during the season. Everyone is exhausted. And I feel like every time Jax and Brittany were there, you know, I was like eavesdropping on a couples counseling session.
You know, there's a US show on SBS On Demand called Couples Therapy, which I love. It has this cult following on social media as well. It's just couples in therapy with this therapist called Dr. Orna Garalnik, who I am obsessed with. It was exactly like watching an episode of Couples Therapy.
You're the second person who's mentioned that show to me. I think I need to watch it.
We should check it out.
I think so.
Yep.
So the final ep was basically a takedown of Janet. The fans have been coming for her all season, and now it was her castmate's turn.
And rightly so.
Yeah.
She's very unlikable. Plus, I didn't like the dress she was wearing. It was unflattering, made her look a bit droopy. I agreed when Jasmine said Janet has Karen energy. I think she totally does. And Janet and Jason's only storyline actually was one that I think Janet made up, of how Jason sometimes doesn't wear his wedding ring when he goes out. But then everyone just said how lame that was. I have come to love Kristen Doute, and I thought she had the best line of the night when she said to Janet, "You aren't relevant enough for fans to care about."
Yeah, I've come to love Kristen as well. I thought she was hilarious, but she was actually wrong about Janet not being relevant. The fans love to hate watch her on this show.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So the issue of Janet making such a big deal all season about the Danny Halloween incident with Jasmine and Melissa, where he briefly touched a leg and a butt cheek on a drunken night out 2 years ago, was hashed out again.
And they all shouted her down, but she totally deserved everything she got. I can't imagine her and Jason being on the show next season, as there wasn't one person on either of the couches that actually likes them, although they should be brought back just for the villain element. I mean, I think what's clear about Janet is that she just likes to labour a point. And it gets so tedious.
Yeah, talk about flogging a very dead horse. I'm just worried if Sheena Shea ends up joining the show that they'll keep Janet around because they're good friends. But Janet has basically alienated everyone else with her on-screen persona.
That's true. And this poor guy, Danny, oh my God, he needs to put in a workers' compensation claim for emotional injury with his ancient leg-touching storyline. He and Nia actually seem refreshingly normal, which on this show is practically a medical miracle. I do think that Janet is basically really jealous of Danny and Nia being so popular with fans, and that's why she pours it on them. I also think it was good of Danny taking Jax to task, asking him why he targeted him this season, and Jax said, "I shouldn't have done that. You've always been the nicest guy to me," which then got Danny teary-eyed about that.
Yeah, well, we did learn a new piece of information. Jax is bipolar and may or may not take his meds. This is a really big deal. No wonder he's such a mess, doing coke for 20 years and drinking and, you know, while being bipolar. Yikes. And like Brittany said, there is no way he is sitting at home being sad. He's hooking up with randos or people who work at the bar and partying and trying to feel that deep hole of need in him.
But wasn't the Frank Drebin thing funny?
Yes.
When Andy brought up that Jax uses a burner account to go on social media posts and say things like, "Jax Taylor is so
He's the
great."
man.
But then he didn't even know that was on the show because apparently he doesn't watch it.
Who was he? Sarah Jessica Parker?
I know. I thought he'd be the first one to watch himself back.
Exactly. So I don't believe for a second that Jax has willingly stepped away from the show and his bar to focus on his sobriety. So he's had his 2 sources of income ripped away from him, as well as his identity.
So what would he be doing for money now. Like without any income, he's going to go broke pretty quick.
I think he's selling things on eBay.
Oh yeah, he mentioned
whatever's
that.
in the garage.
Yeah.
He's not self-aware enough to actually realize the only thing that's going to save him is doing the work. He's addicted to drugs, alcohol, and fame. And so we also learned a couple of new things regarding the other tedious divorces on this show. So Michelle only kissed a guy when she cheated on Jesse. And as soon as they broke up, Jesse started sleeping with a married woman. But we didn't learn any details about that. No follow-up question. And Jesse once again grilled Michelle about her emotional affair with Aaron. And basically, Aaron was telling her about the girls he was dating. And she mentioned once that she wanted to leave Jesse. I mean, that sounds pretty much like a friendship to me.
But wasn't it funny how Jesse was saying, I wish you all the best with Aaron. And now he's not even there.
I know,
because
gone.
They broke up in real time a few weeks ago. I also thought it was interesting right at the end that Andy told Jesse off about this mysterious girlfriend of his and basically said, hey, instead of her making all these legal threats about not saying stuff about her on camera, she should be on the show if she wants to date you, which I agree with. If you don't want to be on a reality TV show, don't date a reality TV star.
I thought Andy schooling Jesse was gold. And then
he looks so embarrassed too, like it was the principal.
Exactly. When he said his girlfriend, Andy said, his girlfriend shouldn't show up to an all-cast event and not expect to be filmed. And he ended it with, you understand? And Jesse's only response was a grim, yeah. Holy shit. Mic drop.
Yes, Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Look, the show itself, this whole season for 3-4 months, it was a bit all over the place. But overall, I didn't mind The Valley this season. I will watch it again.
Well, for me, it was just too dark and toxic. And there were too many fertility journeys. So they've already started filming the next season.
Oh, God. I wonder who's on it.
Yeah, I know. I'm dying to know.
I want to know. So on to the Real Housewives of Miami. And firstly, did you see that pic of Larsa Pippen's overfilled face this week that literally broke the internet?
Oh, my God. She looked like a chipmunk.
Yeah, she did. And we've got a TikTok post up about it explaining how Larsa did an Instagram post saying, look, I just had temporary allergic reaction to this substance called PRP. And then this leading face doctor, May Karga, called bullshit on that because PRP is platelet-rich plasma. It is your own blood. So you can't really have an allergic reaction to your own blood, right? Anyway, that led to the two of them trading jabs on social media with Larsa saying, honey, calm down. And Dr. May saying back, honey.
Oh, God.
It was the battle of the honeys. But people in our comments were laughing because in Larsa's video post, she says, hey, guys, I just filmed the Miami reunion. My face is back to normal. But the video she did is completely done with an airbrushed filter on it, turned up to the max. So she literally looks like something out of AI.
Yeah.
Like maybe one of those fake people. Or
hologram.
A robot sex doll. I mean, I'll be interested to see how puffy she looks at this reunion.
Well, what I don't understand is why celebrities aren't just honest about the work they've had done. Even the Kardashians are getting better about revealing the exact work they've had done.
Yes.
From exact implant sizes to facelifts and who the doctor was. Larsa, girl, we know you're not allergic to your own blood. You've been overfilled. It's okay. So the reunion for Miami was actually filmed last Friday, and I thought the seating chart was a bit shocking. This season's two alpha dogs got seats next to Andy, Alexia, and the newbie Stephanie, and Gertie and Julia are both in seat number 3 on each side. So the only logical explanation is that some major drama is going to unfold that we don't know about between Stephanie and Alexia. Otherwise, I didn't think that seating chart made much sense.
Because I don't remember a newbie sitting right next to Andy first season in, right? They must have had a heads up that beef is going to go down. And I thought that Alexia was saying in interviews that Stephanie was a good addition to the cast. Like maybe she meant from a good enemy warrior point of view.
Yeah. So in the latest ep, I love a party theme, and I think the Preppy college student might be my favorite party theme since Mob Wives. It's an excellent idea, but there was very bad execution on the part of this cast. Just because it's not your style doesn't mean you don't go along with the theme. What is wrong with these people?
I know, like some ladies just did not get the brief. No. I mean, don't they all have their stylists on speed dial? Gertie's askew tie and Lisa's sky-high heels. It literally had me shrieking at the TV.
Yeah, awful. I think the most interesting thing that happened on this episode was actually the revelation that Julia's 2 adult daughters are estranged from her and Martina because they adopted 2 young boys. So Julia and Martina were having dinner with Stephanie and her husband Masood, and they were talking about family rifts, and Julia just brought this up out of the blue. And I thought Martina looked really uncomfortable talking about it.
She did, but I don't understand it. Like, Julia didn't tell her own daughters she was adopting 2 little boys, or didn't tell them much about it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't blame the daughters for feeling shut out. How absolutely strange.
Yeah, just a little bit of background. Julia has 3 children. Had 3 children by 3 different fathers. Her son died of shaken baby syndrome, and the nanny who was at fault disappeared. And her daughter Victoria is a uni student, but Julia refuses to name the father. And her other daughter Emma lives in Paris with her father. His name is Christian Courtin Clarens of the Clarens Beauty Empire.
Oh.
Absolutely millionaire.
That's a real
billionaire, yes. And I don't think the girls ever lived with her and Martina. I think they may have been away at boarding school.
I felt that maybe she's keeping the daughter out of it for a particular reason and she can't really say, but why?
Yeah, I think there's definitely more to this story, and Julia's past is very shady. But so Marysol and Julia, so aka production, have decided that the girls are going to go on a cast trip to Sevilla, and the premise is to get Alexia away from Todd. And Stephanie's decided she is bringing her private jet, and only 4 women can fly from Miami to Spain. So Marysol turns down the last coveted seat so she can stay with her BFF Alexia. But then for some weird reason, Stephanie then offers the last seat to Alexia, who also turns it down to stay with Marysol.
I did laugh when this was brought up at the lunch, and Adriana then explained to everyone, because people were saying, oh, why are they both crying? They both sort of hugging. They were hugging. And Adriana was saying, well, they love each other. They have a beautiful friendship. I would love to have a friendship like that. And then it pans to Julia's stony face because they were once BFFs, but that's now gone a little sour.
Yeah, it's gone really sour.
I mean, there aren't enough genuine BFF friendships in Housewives land anyway. It is like a rare Easter egg when it happens on the show.
Yeah, I have to give them credit. That is some friendship loyalty. So it becomes this whole thing about who will get the last prize seat. I thought it was really gross, and everyone should just travel together, period.
But, I wouldn't have wanted to fly on that private plane all the way to Europe either. Small planes and the falling out of the sky now sort of tendencies. Sometimes it scares me. Give me economy class and a huge jumbo jet with 400 strangers. I will take my chances.
Well, I'm going to go all Lisa Barlow here. I don't fly economy either. Not overseas, no way. And I did look up Stephanie's plane. It is a $42 million state-of-the-art jet. Wealthy people don't fly commercial. Jeff Bezos, Leonardo, etc. I'll take my chances on the private plane.
Oh, okay. Well, you do that.
I will.
And if you
I'll
come,
let you know how it is.
you come back, let me know how it went.
I will.
Yeah.
So on to the Housewives over in Orange County. The return of Gretchen Rossi has been a bit problematic. So she was involved in 2 scandals just in the past week. And the first one, she was involved in this video posted on castmate Jenn Pedrante's Insta page where they said they were defending themselves this season, and they were shown hitting a punching bag with this Asian ninja music playing in the background.
Ooh, how cringy.
Yeah, and Katie, who is Asian, responded to the video saying, it's very hurtful and inappropriate. It's 2025, and I think we should read the room. And the video has since been taken down.
Yeah, you can't do stuff like that. Gretchen is 46. Maybe she's just not up with the kids and the do's and don'ts of social media. Mind you, she does have 1 million followers on Instagram. She should be maybe thinking ahead of potential PR disasters.
Yeah.
Look, I like the return of Gretchen, irrespective of all that. And, she's this old foe of Tamra's. I think it's good for the show. Like, it's interesting for someone like me who watched her back in the old days, seeing her back. It's like these 2 heavyweights duking it out.
Yeah, well, there was another un-PC subject in this episode. So the main beef revolved around a fatty photo. This is a term that we're going to use from now on, fatty photo, that Tamra showed of Jenn before she transformed into a real housewife.
I know they were calling it fatty photo, but she looked completely normal. Like, she was a little bit heavier, but, she was still normal. I think the unflattering top she was wearing in that pic didn't help.
Yeah.
And her face did look different. She's had some work done, some fillers. She looks actually very attractive now.
Yeah. So, of course, Jen's going to look different. She moved from Oklahoma to Orange County. Yes. Those are totally different beauty standards. And she gave birth to 4 kids and started dating someone who was a gym rat, with Ryan, and started working out. And she got got a glow up. Why is she being shamed? Season 17 Jenn does not look like season 19 Jenn. Housewives don't look the same from year to year.
Week to week.
Yeah. Have you seen Kyle or Larsa? So, but I do want to talk about Jenn and her ex Will.
Well, I don't get that storyline because wasn't this Will guy really successful? But
yes,
it's like he can't pay spousal support or child support or something.
It's really weird. So he actually works for Jenn's family's business back in Oklahoma. So Dodgy Ryan is paying for Jenn and her 5 children. This makes me so nervous.
Yeah.
And so basically, also on the show, the ladies landed in New Orleans for this first girls' trip of the season. And Tamra's really emotional because she was just in New Orleans with Teddy, and Teddy fell down some stairs due to her brain tumors.
And next week, we are going to see the infamous episode on this trip where Tamra dramatically announces to everyone that she just can't take this group anymore. I'm quitting the show.
Bye-bye.
Which we all believed for a few seconds. It went around the internet, but that she's since then clarified she was just feeling emotional. She's staying on. No doubt for all the fame and the money because she's no quitter. That's what she said.
Yeah, well, we'll see if this group can come together, but I think it's going to take more than Mardi Gras beads and beignets.
So explain to us what a beignet is.
Yeah, it's like a donut. New Orleans is very famous for them. They're like donuts, and they've got powdered sugar sprinkled on top. They're very messy, but absolutely delicious.
It's just a donut with sugar on it? I can get that here.
Better than a donut.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I have to go there all the way for
Donut-ish.
that. Yep.
Yeah.
So Rose and Thorn time. And this is kind of momentous because I think for the first time ever, I'm handing out a rose for Below Deck.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, well, my jaw was on the floor for a lot of this episode because usually I find this show kind of a bit meandering. There's a lot of discussion about plate settings and towel folding and all of the rest, but this was quite dramatic, this episode. Finally, we got to the juicy part. Deckhand Kyle Stilley spent the episode bragging like a broken record that he hooked up with Helen, the lingerie store owner, while they were in the water. I never believed he did, but in the episode he said it so much that I began thinking, well, did he? And then there was all this forensic analysis of his D. Like, was it out or not? Was it shriveled up or not when he went back to the shore? And Fraser questioning, did it slip in and out? I mean, honestly, I've seen less intense investigations on true crime shows.
I know.
What the hell?
The whole thing about Stilley's Willie. Like, I don't think he could have logistically had sex with Helen in the water. They had underwater cameras.
Yeah, and there were so many other people, including crew members, standing around in the water nearby.
I'm actually surprised that Helen hasn't commented on this whole situation. Her Insta is public, and in there she's thanking the crew for a great time, and Captain Carey liked it. And she did speak to the Daily Mail about her drunk friend Kelly getting thrown off, but she hasn't said anything about this. So I'm thinking maybe she's not saying anything just to like milk the situation. You know, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
You know what? I think she's actually quite pleased about all this because let's face it. I mean, like, I'm not sure how much action she's getting. She probably gets a kick out of everyone thinking that this young guy thought she was shaggable.
Well, I did wonder how Captain Lee or Captain Sandy would have handled this situation. And Kyle was put in a really inappropriate position. Helen, was putting his hands over her boobs. And I do think poor Kyle has some issues that need to be addressed. His drinking. He falls really hard for girls like Barbie last season and Solène this season.
Yeah. So anyway, it's revealed it was just all crap talk. He says to Captain Carey he didn't do it after all. Also, he just went to watch what happens live with Fraser, and Andy asks him point blank if he really did it, and he said no. So basically he was just causing trouble for a storyline, and it was kind of silly, I've got to say. Then the second WTF thing, Kyle at his own birthday party at a restaurant, picking up a random girl who was called Martine from Boston and shagging her for real within minutes on the floor of the men's urinal, surrounded by stale piss, because nothing says happy birthday more than a quickie in the loo, right? I mean, it was completely gross.
Well, I just want to know, what was she thinking? She would have had to have signed a release form to appear on camera, and they had a camera crew following them. Why would you lay down on the floor in a dirty toilet and have sex? It's like, why wouldn't you just do it on the dark beach?
Well, they did do something on the beach as well, right? We saw that. I mean, but was it all set up by production? It just happened so fast. It was almost like she was ready to go before the camera started rolling.
Yeah. And one more thing I have to mention. Solène's mouth is covered in cold sores, and she's been kissing half of the crew. It's a health hazard.
Triple ooh.
Yeah, so on to my rose. And I didn't think things could get any more exciting in Housewives world after the announcement that Rachel Zoe was joining the cast of Beverly Hills, I was wrong. Carol Radziwill and Andy Cohen have squashed their beef after 7 long years. So she made a surprise guest appearance on Watch What Happens Live last week. And to refresh your memory, Carol was a member of the Real Housewives of New York cast for 6 years. And I would say Carol is my favorite housewife ever.
See, mine are all people that other people hate, like Brandi Glanville, Lisa Rinna, and Erica Jane. I tend to go for the supervillain types.
Well, she's the reason I watched my very first Real Housewives episode ever, Season 5, New York.
Actually, my all-time favourite, now that I think of it, is Bethany Frankel, who Carol fell out with because they were the best of friends on the show, remember? And then they had that huge fight. Wasn't it they had a production break?
Yes.
They lost touch. They each claimed the other one ghosted them?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Well, Carol had a friend in LA whose husband was dying, so she left New York to spend time with her friend. And Bethany thought Carol was ignoring her and they fell out. It was very nasty.
Right.
And then Bethany was awful and slammed Carol for not being married, not having children, and not having a career during the season 10 reunion. It was disgusting. Carol has 3 Emmys and a best-selling book.
What does she have Emmys for?
Because she was a news producer at ABC News.
Oh, right. And so anyway, this pair now absolutely hate each other. But, you know, Carol and Bethany back in the day, when they were good, they were the double trouble power couple. I think they were one of the best things I ever saw on a housewives show. I mean, I loved them because they were both smart and witty and super cool. Yeah. And they were different from the other housewives because it's not like they were ever the joke. They were the ones always in on the joke.
Yes, exactly. And so so Andy and Carol ended up falling out as well. And this happened during the season 10 reunion because Carol thought that he was favoring Bethany. And that's when Carol famously said, "You're so full of shit, Andy."
Oh, yes.
And yes, it was so good. And she ended up quitting the show soon after that, implying that she was like leaving this toxic situation. And that did not sit well with Andy. And Andy recently said on his radio show, she and I, as you know, had a big kind of falling out. She asked me to never speak to her again. And then we kind of went at each other publicly for years. And we finally kind of came to a very positive place.
Well, that's good because, you know, she's 61 and he's like late 50s, like 57, I think. I mean, enough time's passed. Don't waste time on this stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's all get on with it.
Exactly. And Carol posted on an Insta story saying, "We hadn't spoken or even bumped into each other in nearly 7 years. After another public argument, we quietly settled our differences over text messages. Then 1 week later, we bumped into each other at the Polo Bar." So the universe had said enough. And Bowen Yang and Matt Rogers from Las Culturistas were also the guests on Watch What Happens Live.
So who are these guys? Like, I don't even know.
They're fabulous. So Las Culturistas is one of the top pop culture podcasts in America. And Bowen's on Saturday Night Live, and they are both comedians. And they just did an amazing award show with all the Bravo celebrities. It was hysterical. And last time they appeared on Watch What Happens Live, they said that Carol was one of the housewives they would like back on the show. So Angie reportedly did some major ass kissing behind the scenes to get Carol back in the Bravoverse. And when she came out as a mystery guest, they lost their minds, and so did I.
Oh, gosh. I'm not sure we'll see Carol back, but it would be good. Maybe. So my rose this week is second rose is the return of the Playboy Murders on HBO Max. This is a crime series now on its 3rd season, and it's basically any murders that have had something to do with Playboy. And the main talking head in each episode is Holly Madison. Remember Holly?
Yes.
She was one of the Hugh Hefner's 3 girlfriends in Girls of the Playboy Mansion, and she actually dated him for 7 years. So you can really see that Holly is in her element in this show because her natural personality is quite serious and studious, and these are obviously very serious subjects.
Yeah, I always thought she was very pretty. And I'm really glad that she found something she's really into.
Yeah, so in the Girls of the Playboy Mansion, she was so flat in her confessionals, whereas Kendra and Bridget, the other 2 girlfriends of Hef's, who weren't actually his girlfriends after all, not for a second. I mean, they were so bubbly and fun, but Holly was so serious anytime she spoke. And she's now come out, she said she was quite depressed during those years, which doesn't surprise me.
I know. She probably felt trapped, in her life. And being with Hef, who was like 90 years old.
Yeah, and she really wanted to be a mum, but he was elderly.
Yes.
I mean, her life was a mess back then. Anyway, in this series, you can really see her passion for this subject about crime and the history of Playboy coming out. So basically, each episode, it's a blend of a murder case and the inner workings of Playboy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so one episode in a previous series, which is Playboy's most famous crime case ever, the murder of playmate Dorothy Stratton back in 1980 by her boyfriend. So in that one, Holly talked all about Hef and the mystique of Playboy. And another episode, it was the murder of someone in admin. So it was, for that, she talked about how Playboy works as a business behind the scenes. In the latest episode I watched, it's a murder connected with the Playboy bunny clubs. They were the bars they used to have.
Right.
So Holly's talking about how these clubs worked. But in some of these cases, the link to Playboy, I've got to say, it's a little tenuous.
Well, because how many murders can there possibly be if it's now the third season of the show?
Well, yeah, it's like this happened to a friend of a friend of a friend of mine to do with Playboy. So in this case, it was the 1983 murder of a photographer, a woman who was booked to do one photo shoot with some girls at a Playboy bunny club. So that's the whole connection. Anyway, it turns out that when she left the job at night, she got into a car. She somehow encountered two men randomly at some point, and then they were the ones that killed her. But that's only a recent revelation due to DNA evidence now coming to light. The man that they initially said killed her and another woman was wrongfully convicted, and he sat in prison for 37 years, totally innocent. Wow. He was only released last year and offered $14 million compensation. Anyway, I've always been fascinated with Playboy, so this is a good watch for people like me.
Well, so for me, I decided to dip back into Plastic Surgery Rewind on Hayu and watch the last few eps, and I've completely changed my mind about this show, and I am now giving it a rose.
So that means we've now got 4 roses this week. Oh my God, nothing pissed us off.
We're getting soft.
Well, yeah, we need to get back to form. See, I'm not a massive fan of this show, but I am open to suggestions. So what do you have?
Well, I wanted to see what happened to Alan McGarry, the Irish guy who looked like a cartoon character, and Larissa Lima, who was on 90 Day Fiancé. And Alan ended up having his lips and cheek filler removed, which he said was horrendous and the most painful thing ever. And his filler also migrated up to his temples and all over his face. It was a mess.
He did look better.
Yeah. And so Larissa's boobs were 1,500 cc's each. So just to give you some idea, breast implants in Australia only go up to 800 cc's. So each one of her boobs would have weighed 1.5 kilos. Plus, I didn't realize, but you should actually remove or replace implants every 10 to 15 years. I didn't know that. But she had them reduced to 700 cc's each. So that's less than half the size she had, but it's still a double D.
So 1.5 kilos, that's like a hand weight at the gym.
Yeah.
Basically.
I can't imagine the back pain.
And she also looked better, but I so reckon she's going to have buyer's remorse. I mean, I guarantee she will pop up in years to come with even bigger boobs and more surgery. There will be a Larissa sequel. I just know it. I know this woman. I watched 90 Day Fiancé.
Well, the latest episode also features Aubrey O'Day from an old girl group called Danity Kane. She was part of MTV's Making the Band, where she and the band were mentored by Diddy. And she finds out while she's at the Rewind retreat that Diddy was arrested, and she breaks down. And it's later revealed that she was actually part of the federal investigation. And watching her reaction in real time was really jarring. She was trembling, and it was so heartbreaking. And she talks about what she had to do to make it and the abuse she suffered. And I started crying.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. I was only half watching it. I was actually looking at my phone. And at first I was like, oh, this silly woman supporting P. Diddy and crying. He's going to jail. And I then realised she was actually relieved he was going to jail, and it was a very serious story. And she was totally against him. And yes, very authentically raw, her talking about it.
Yeah, and so speaking of Playboy, there's also a former Playboy model who went to the Playboy plastic surgeon that all the girls went to.
I know, this woman seems quite old to me. Is she over 70?
Yeah, she's like 69 and she's a grandma. She just wants to be in the pool with her grandkids. And she had requested small C implants and woke up and she found out that the doctor had put in giant double D breasts without her consent. She didn't agree to these, and she said she doesn't know one woman during her time at the Playboy Mansion who wasn't sexually abused. It was just par for the course.
Yeah, it did happen. And I seem to recall that subject was actually touched upon by Holly in one of those Playboy murder episodes. It's quite interesting.
Yeah. Well, so the thing is, there's several people in the Rewind house that have similar stories. And I realized that most of them aren't suffering from body dysmorphia. They have unresolved trauma. So whether they were made fun of as a child or they were pressured by a man or someone in a certain industry like model, singer, OnlyFans, they altered their bodies for someone else. And this shows this show helps them take back their power and return to their former selves. So that's why I'm giving it a rose.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. But I just want to see more surgery personally.
Yeah.
More gore, please. Although these are celebs, so that's probably why the gore is skimmed over, I guess.
So that's it for this week. Thanks for listening. I'm Shelley Seddon.
And I'm Fleur Michelle.
Join us next week for So Many Receipts.